going to determine, your beliefs are going to determine what you expect. And expectation is your greatest superpower. Expectation is a part of the mindset that can destroy the enemy that's using a weapon of mass destruction on your wealth. How? Well, expectation is your greatest superpower. In fact, I'm going to make an assertion. If you are an adult who's responsible for your own life, don't hate me when I say this now. If you're an adult who's responsible for your own life, lack cannot exist in your experience unless it first exists in your expectation. Did I say that too fast? Lack cannot exist in your experience unless it first exists in your expectation. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you will have an opportunity to make your life better. You will weigh the risks, and instead of managing the risks, you will avoid them. And when you avoid the risk, you avoid the reward. But when you manage the risk, then you can eventually learn to multiply the reward. So, expectation. Did you ever think about the fact that focus on lack was the very first temptation in the history of the world? The very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack. So if the very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack, then the one thing that I can't afford to focus on is lack. Now, it doesn't mean that lack's not there. Lack is always there. Lack is always there. But if lack is there, abundance must also always be there. Why? Because if something's missing, the exact equal opposite must be present. So if there's an abundance of lack in your life, there's the availability for the abundance of abundance in your life. But which one do you get? You get the one you're focused on. What do I mean? Okay, the Garden of Eden, gardens and enclosure. I got to do this really fast. Gardens and enclosure. God said, of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat, right? So you got all these trees. Of every tree of the garden, thou mayest freely eat. Every tree, freely eat. Everybody say it. Every tree, freely eat. Every tree, freely eat. That's two trees in one. Okay. Every tree, freely eat. So they got all these trees. They got plum trees and pear trees and apple. But in the middle of the garden, there was the tree of life. And also in the middle of the garden, there was a tree of knowledge of good and evil. God told Adam and Eve, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree that's in the midst of the garden, thou shalt not eat of it, for the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. God said, of every tree, freely eat. Every and freely. Let me ask you something about every and freely. Lack words or abundance words? Abundance. But of the tree, how many is the? One. But of the tree, that's in the midst of the garden, thou shalt not eat of it, for the day thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So they had the abundance of everything, and they only lacked one thing. Abundance and lack were both available in the Garden of Eden. But the scripture says the serpent was more subtle than the beasts of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said unto the woman, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. Do you understand? Until Satan started talking to Eve, she wasn't thinking about this tree. She was thinking about the every freely. But the serpent comes and said, yea, hath God said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden. So he added the word not and he took out the word freely. Does that change the meaning? The woman said, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. She took out the word every and the word freely. Does that change the meaning? So now there's no more lack, there's no more abundance to focus on. There's just trees. And I submit to you that one of our biggest problems is losing awareness of the abundance that's all around us and thinking it's just this or it's only that. And so we minimize the abundance and then hone in on the thing we lack. And so when Satan got Eve's attention off of all of the abundance she had, Adam and Eve had to walk past all of this abundance and ignore all of this abundance to get to the only thing they lacked. So the very first temptation in the history of the world was the temptation to focus on lack. Maybe this is one of the things the Apostle Paul meant in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, where he said, I fear lest by any means that as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety. so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that's in Christ. So your what? Your minds. What happened? He got her mind set off of the abundance and got her mind set on the thing she lacked. Now, the abundance and the lack are always both there, but you get the one you focus on. Do you understand it's impossible for lack to be there? Like, I don't have any money. Great. Then you have a great opportunity to make money. Why? Where sin did abound, grace did much more abound. Abundance is always greater than lack, even when it doesn't feel like it. So here's what happens. When you focus on lack, you perpetuate lack. When you focus on abundance, you perpetuate abundance. So you definitely need a new mindset. You need a mind that's set on focusing on the abundance that's there. I'm talking about people who have a negative bank account right now, and you're listening to me. You're so focused in and honed in on the fact there's no money in your bank account, or very little, or less than none, that you can't see all the abundance that's around you. And it's there. It's there in as great abundance as the lack is there in great abundance. How do I know that? Because God wove the principle of the law of polarity into the fabric of the universe, and it's not going to stop existing just because you got here. Say law of polarity, what's that? For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Have you ever eaten a one-sided piece of bread? Talk to me, people. No. Have you ever written on a one-sided piece of paper? Yes or no? No. Oh, no. Okay. Have you ever flipped a one-sided coin? Yes or no? Why not? Because it cannot exist. Not because it doesn't exist. It cannot exist. It's impossible for anything in this sphere, in this realm that we live in, to exist with only one side. And you get the side you focus on. That's what I mean when I say expectation is your greatest superpower. It's almost like God gave us an entire book filled with principles and promises and precepts and practices and prophecies and prayers and prosperity to focus on. But the same God that gave us that ordained that the enemy come and bring us a problem. The enemy don't put the problem over here where you can't see it. He can't put it over here where you can only see it out of peripheral vision. He doesn't put it up here. He doesn't put it back here. The enemy comes and says, now what you gonna do? The enemy blinds you to the abundance that's available so that you only think the only thing that's there is the problem, the lack, the what's missing, the sickness, the disease, the poverty. And he puts it right in front of you. Do you understand that Saul and all of his army had the same opportunity to slay Goliath, but only David had the right perspective? They saw what was missing in them. He's bigger than us. He'll tear us limb from limb. He's like 10 feet tall. He'd pat Shaquille O'Neal on top of his head and say, "What's up, little fella?" He was so big he had 6 toes on each foot and 6 fingers on each hand. This is a big joker. His spearhead weighed 16 pounds. How strong do you have to be to chuck a spear whose head weighs 16 pounds? They were so looking at what Goliath was, he was a weapon, that they didn't even know who they were. They forgot about what they had available to them, and what they had available to them was way more massive than Goliath. Everybody else was focused on how much Saul, all of David's brothers, everybody else in the Israeli army was so focused on how big the giant was compared to them. David, a little shepherd boy, was focused on how big God was compared to how small Goliath was. Both were all there for everybody. Everybody could have taken that opportunity, but only David did. And I am telling you, the difference between where you are and where you could be a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now is wrapped up predominantly in your mindset and perspective. You're so zoned into what's missing that you're missing what's there. Let me ask you a question. What is your mindset causing you to focus on? Is it causing you to focus on what's missing that you feel so hopeless that you just go home and binge watch Netflix? That's not going to fix the problem. Is what your focus on what's missing so like all-consuming that you feel like you have to go get drunk or go get high? That's not going to fix the problem. Does your focus on what's missing? I'm not saying that what's missing is not missing. It is missing, but I'm telling you that's not all that's there. Is your focus on what's missing causing you to be frustrated? So frustrated that you're fussing with your spouse and fussing with your children because you're frustrated with your inability to see what's there. Mindset. The mindset is the right, I'm going to go back to mindset. It's the right perception. I can see what's there. It's the right perspective. That every obstacle is an opportunity. And see, I'm going to be optimistic enough to see the opportunity in my obstacle. I'm not going to be so pessimistic that I can only see the obstacle in my opportunity. How many of y'all picking up what I'm putting down? And when you have the right perception and you have the right perspective, then it will give you a level of passion to fulfill your purpose, like the likes of which you've never had before. This mindset is weapon numero uno. Weapon of mass production numero uno. You have to have a level of awareness. See, I can because God said I can. I can because other people have. I can because God gave to every man according to his several ability. And I may not have what you have, and you may not have what I have, but bless the Lord, we all have something. But here's the problem. We're scared to go to war against the enemy of poverty, because it's held our family in bondage forever. And we, like Gideon, are hiding among the stuff when God says, let's go, you mighty man of valor. Let's go, you mighty woman of valor. And we're like, who, me? Yes, you. Well, it's not just mindset. You've got to learn how to build something, and that is where your skill set comes in. By the way, it's not even a skill set, it's skill sets. Like, I need the skill set of writing on this board. Skill sets. Without erasing, without pressing so hard that it erases. Skill sets. What skill sets do I need? Okay, I'm going to give them to you in the order in which I would recommend that you create them. But this is not the order of priority. This is the order of flow. Okay, skill set number one is content creation. Because content is created. Now, what does content creation mean? Content creation means it doesn't matter if you're a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, a doctor, a lawyer, a beautician, a makeup artist. It doesn't matter. The best possible customer and client for you is an educated customer or client. You have to be able to educate them on how to solve their problem. And so you have to be willing to create content that they desire to consume, not just content that you desire to create. The biggest problem in content creation is most content creators create the content they care about instead of the content their audience cares about. And the content that you create needs to demonstrate. What's the word I just used? Demonstrate to the people that you created it for that you've obsessed over their problem more than they have for a longer period of time than they have. And you've created a solution that is so elegant and so effective that they can't do anything but say yes to it. Why? Because all of the money that you desire to have. I want you to wrap your mind around this. I don't care if it's $100, $100,000, $100 million, or $100 billion. All the money that you desire to have right now and don't have, it's in somebody else's pocket. Now, you can hit them over the head and take it from them and take a chance on going to jail. Or you can just create something that they desire more than they desire the money they have to pay for it. How many of y'all tracking? Wave at me, my people. And so what we have to do is we have to say, okay, I have to become consumed. I have to become obsessed with solving other people's problems. You know what your biggest problem is? You're obsessed with solving your biggest problem. And I obsess over solving other people's problems. And when I solve other people's problems, they pay me enough money to pay somebody to solve my problem. Right? I'm allergic to cutting grass. That's not the same as being allergic to grass. I'm just allergic to cutting it. So guess what? I solve people's problems that they want solved, and they're willing to pay more than they would be for somebody to cut their grass, and I solve their problems for them, and when I solve their problems, they pay me a lot of money. And sometimes that's to the tune of thousands of dollars an hour. Sometimes it's to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. And that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense to you, because if you're listening to me, the reason it doesn't make any sense to you is because you've never obsessed over a big enough pool of people's big enough problem who are willing to pay enough money to solve it. A problem that big. Okay, can I give you all an example? Yes. Okay, so let's say I know how to create videos that cause people to watch them. And let's say that you take the average, not average, but you just take an average personal injury attorney, and let's say the average case that they get makes them $60,000. Okay, the average case they win makes them $60,000. So if I can create content for them that helps them attract a client, one client a month, that would be worth at least $6,000 a month. If I can do that for 10 clients, that's $60,000 a month. If I can do that for 100 clients, that's $600,000 a month. But some of you know how to make videos. But you make videos nobody cares about. Instead of going and finding somebody who cares about having a video made that a result could be produced that would pay for it, and then selling them that solution. You could make videos that you don't even have to be a lawyer. You can make videos that generate leads for personal injury lawyers, and then you could sell the leads to those lawyers. And you could charge them $10 a lead, $20 a lead. Who could do that? Well, anybody could, but most people won't. Maybe you serve a cosmetic dentist or a cosmetic surgeon. See, here's what I figured out a long time ago. If you want to get rich quickly, I'm going to define quickly, in your lifetime. If you want to get rich quickly, solve a big problem for somebody who, when you solve that problem, they make a lot of money. See, yes, I could help a pizza shop sell more pizzas. But if I'm charging them $2,000 a month, they got to sell a whole bunch of pizzas in order to pay me. But if I help a cosmetic surgeon get 5 clients a month that pay them on average $8,000 a piece, that's 8,000 times 5 clients, that's $40,000. I can charge them $4,000 a month. If I get 10 clients like that, I'm making $40,000 a month. If I get 100 clients like that, I'm making $400,000 a month. That's how my brain thinks. My brain thinks in big multiples. Like, I watch people do stuff in business. I'm like, why are you playing in the small arena? I don't know if you are familiar with a concept called an open system. Okay, so here's how it works. If you have a tree that's growing by a wall, there's a wall on the side of the tree, it will naturally grow away from the wall. If you take a fish that can grow to be this big and you put it in a tank that's this big, it's not going to grow any bigger than its environment will allow. Are y'all tracking? And so what happens for most people is they get a skill that's worth millions of dollars, and they play in an arena that's worth $30,000 a year. We just have to think differently. Instead of thinking of the people we want to sell stuff to, think from the people we want to sell stuff to. Put yourself in their shoes. That becomes a weapon of mass production, because now I'm not just solving a problem that I want to solve. I'm solving a problem that a big pool of people are willing to pay a big sum of money to have solved. Like this whole wealth creation thing is not hard. When I hire an attorney, my attorney charges, like, different attorneys charge different amounts. But like when I hired my estate planning attorney, she's like, okay, it's $13,000 to create your estate plan. And if you want to keep me on retainer, it's X amount of dollars. My business attorney charges X amount. Like, if I get into litigation with somebody, my prosecuting attorney, because usually I'm in litigation with somebody, they're getting sued by me for doing something they shouldn't have done. I'm not getting sued by them, because hopefully by the grace of God, I'm going to keep on doing the stuff I'm supposed to do, right? But I have to pay them X amount of dollars. So, like, It doesn't matter. Like the lifestyle that you deserve is on the other side of you creating solutions for other people who desire to be served. Okay, so content creation is first. Why? Because if you create content like you write a book, and it's a good book, you write a good book. What determines whether the book is good? You're solving a problem the market wants solved. You write a book that people want to read, not a book that you want to write. You don't create the course you want to create. You create the course that the marketplace wants to pay for and consume and get results. And then they brag. Expectation is your greatest superpower. But see, you're scared to do that. And why are you scared? You're scared because, well, if I teach them the stuff that I know that I would have sold, then what am I going to sell them? Your problem, you think your problem is that you're giving away stuff you could have sold, but your real problem is you just don't have enough access. You don't have enough understanding of enough profound information and transformation for your ideal avatar that you can give some of it away and still have plenty to sell. So content creation, that's first, because content is created. But then the next one is audience attraction. So you attract an audience. How do you attract an audience? By declaring and demonstrating that you have the best solution for their problem. Like, why are y'all watching a guy yesterday on the phone? He lives in Australia. His name's Richmond. He's a good friend of mine. And we were at dinner in Idaho. I think it was Idaho. Yeah, Idaho in October. And I did this little illustration with him and showed him this concept. He's like, I don't know why I'm struggling with selling premium value offers. Well, I know why you're struggling. Here's why. And I did this little illustration with him. That night, he went and made an offer and closed his first $100,000 offer ever. The highest offer he'd ever closed before that was $25,000. And inside 2 weeks, he closed another one. And another lady named Phyllis, who was sitting across the table from him, but right beside me, she bought a $100,000 offer from me. She bought a $100,000 offer from me, upgraded to a $350,000 offer. I texted her last night. I texted her, said, hey, just touching base with you to see if you're still on track for the $350,000 offer, because if you are, tomorrow's day number 30 and you had 30 days to upgrade. She said, oh yeah, I just made my first $100,000 offer. I need to stay plugged into you. You say, Myron, what do you say? I'm not saying I can help everybody make $100,000, but somebody who actually has the ability to produce a result for their clients, all I do is prove to them that I can help them by actually helping them. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of what Jim Rohn said about Jesus. Jim Rohn said Jesus had the shortest presentation ever, and it was so powerful. What was the short presentation that was so powerful? Follow me. 2 words. People dropped everything. They said, well, you know what? I'm done with this fishing business. Let's go. Where are we going? Wow. How could somebody have a presentation that short? And people drop everything. Leave their family. Just, okay, well, I'm going where he tells me to go. I'm following Jesus. Like, how could this presentation be so short and yet so powerful? Here's what Jim Rohn said. Because of all that he was that he didn't have to talk about. And then he said, too many people try to make up. And so audience attraction, you're going to attract your audience. Oh, this is like in business, this is, in my opinion, the ultimate weapon of mass production. You ready? Yeah, Myron. Brand building. I used to think when people talk about brand building, I'm like, that's so lame. Like literally, I thought, oh, this person's talking about branding because they don't know how to sell. I used to think this person's talking about branding because they don't know how to do marketing. I believe people, like when I learned how to sell, selling was my skill. So I heard people talk about marketing. I'm like, yeah, but marketing doesn't do any good if you can't close the sale. So I thought people talked about marketing because they didn't know how to sell. Then I learned how to do marketing. I'm like, oh, marketing makes sales superfluous. What does that mean? Like marketing literally, if your marketing is great, it makes your sales effortless. Like, oh. Then I heard people talk about branding. Come on, bro. Branding, really? Branding? Come on, bro. And then I accidentally started building a brand. Like, heaven help us all the time. Building a brand? I've never done, I've never done anything in my life that has impacted my business more than building a brand. And I stumbled upon it. It wasn't like I set out because I'm a genius and I'm going to go build a brand today. I didn't do that. I wasn't smart enough to do that, y'all. Literally, in less than a year, business went from $2 million a year to $6 million a year. And then another year went from 6 million to 18 million. Like, what? What is that? Selling is a weapon of mass production. You have to get good at sales. Selling is not convincing. Selling is persuading. Persuading is the opposite of convincing. What does that mean? Persuading is the opposite of convincing. Convincing is what people who are not good at sales resort to because they're not good at sales. Convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I desire you to do for my reasons. That's what convincing is. Like, I didn't do a good job selling, so now I'm going to talk you into buying. Do you understand when you're actually selling, when you're actually persuading, you're not talking people into buying. You're just creating an environment that makes them feel like buying. Then you can't even talk them out of it. Right? Selling is uncovering the value of what I have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. But your problem is you haven't revealed value, so now you have to resort to convincing. You have to lower the price because you haven't revealed value. Say, Myron, how comes you sell your offers for so much? Not that much to me. Guess it depends on who you ask. But the reason I sell my offers for so much is the heart follows the pocketbook. Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And you sell like you buy. And if you buy like you're broke, you'll sell like everybody else is broke. One of the best things I ever do for my clients is charge them a lot of money to work with me. Why? Because people who are unwilling to pay will be unable to charge. It's a rite of passage. I never even thought of that with this before. I had $1 million offer for years. I've had $1 million offer since 2015. Sold the first one in 2019. Sold 3 last year. Guess what happened year before last? Guess. I bought $1 million offer. Oh. I knew exactly what it felt like to buy $1 million offer. $1 million offer. You say, Myron, what are you saying? I'm saying selling is uncovering the value of what you have to offer so well that people are happy to exchange the money you have in your pocket, they have in their pocket for the value you've revealed. What's marketing? Marketing is the art and science of discovering and developing in other people, oh, did I mention this? In other people, a desire for more and more of your product or service or your opportunity. So marketing has more to do with me discovering your desire for a specific outcome than it does letting you know what my desire is for my specific outcome. But what is branding? What is a brand? A brand is a name that reminds you of a story. So when you build a brand, you're building your name or you're building your reputation so that when people think of your name, they only conjure up good thoughts. So, do everything you say, every experience you give your customers, every experience you give your clients, every experience you give your prospects says to them, I want to keep doing business with this person, or you know what? I'm a little tired of the hassle. You build a brand by doing what you said you're going to do expeditiously and better than they expected you to do it. It's okay for your reputation to precede you. It's not okay for your reputation to exceed you. The experience of you needs to be better than the reputation that they heard about you. It needs to be like when the Queen of Sheba came to see King Solomon, and she said, I heard about you when I was in my own country. Howbeit, I didn't believe until now I've come and mine own eyes have seen. And behold, the half has not been told. Thy wealth and thy prosperity exceedeth what I heard when I was in my own country. When somebody experiences you, is the experience of you better than the expectation of you? And if it's not, you are building a negative brand. because everybody is building a brand. Some people are building a brand intentionally that will cause people to break down the door. Like, if I could just get in that person's program, if I could just read that person's book, if I could just get in that person's presence. Brand building is a weapon of mass production. Okay, what's the mass production that comes from building a brand? I don't know yet. Here's what happens when you build a brand. Prospects come to you. Clients come to you. Brand partners come to you. Opportunities come to you. Why? Because you've developed a reputation, a name, a brand that people are willing to pay to see themselves in. Does being associated with you elevate the status of the people who come in contact with you and buy from you? Or does it lower the status of people who do business? Here's what's not going to happen. You're not going to build a brand by hiding in the booth in the back in the corner in the dark. I hope this video blesses you. Stay blessed by the best, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching.